All right. Thank you, Sandra and Lorie, for joining me here today. And we're going to spend some time thinking through what it looks like to support someone well through the end of their life. And so Sandra and I are part of Karis Disability Services, where we support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And Lorie lives in Kingston, Ontario, and she was a great support to Penny through the last months of her life and was a good friend as well. I'd love to hear maybe from you, just briefly, what was your relationship with Penny? What did that look like?
Penny was a good friend of mine, and I used to read to her. And what it looked like was that I got to know her. I got to know Penny over a long time by reading to her, and the staff told me it just made her day.
You really did. You brought so much joy to her, Lorie, when you came to visit with her. So yeah, I'm Sandra. I'm a program manager. I was a program manager at the house where Penny lived for her years at Karis. I worked with Penny for the better part of 28 years.
I understand that Penny had an extended palliative period towards the end of her life. What did that look like for you and the team and for her?
Due to Penny's physical and mental health challenges, the last several years of her life, she didn't really leave the house very often, but she did have a very lovely and cozy spot in her room. So for many years, actually, um, we had been working with what palliative would look like with her family doctor, and with her family. It was a long conversation that involved a lot of people. I guess that's the summary.
Hmm. So it was a bit of an extended process to figure out what that looked like, and what were some of the factors that were at play there.
Because of her health, the doctors strongly believed that when she died, that it would not be because of something sudden like a heart attack or choking or something that could be resolved with first aid. So her family doctor was the strongest advocate to have her move to a palliative planned end of life. And he connected with her family members, and he connected with the home healthcare people in the palliative team to bring them into the home to make all of those plans with us and to get a do not resuscitate order, which was a very difficult process.
So I'm hearing that it was important to her to be at home through that time. That you mentioned that was a special place for her, and that she felt comfortable and loved in that environment.
Her world was very small. And so removing her from the one place where she had been cared for and safe for over 30 years didn't seem like the right thing to do. It really seemed like the right thing to help keep her comfortable in her environment with people that she did know, because she had many, many staff that had worked with her for as long as I had, for 10, 15, 20, 25 years.
It sounds like it was important for that doctor to help advocate there too. That you had people in the medical system who kind of knew it, knew how to navigate it, that were there advocating. Um, that's beautiful to hear that you worked through those systems and you helped to make that environment possible for her. And then there are some other ways that you, the team, and I know Lorie will chat with you here in a second about this as well, that you really invested yourselves in helping Penny's last days and months to be meaningful, to be a kind of celebration of who she was. What did that look like? How did that come about?
We really tried to celebrate her life before the end of her life. We wanted to celebrate her life with her. Um, we did many things, but one of our favorite highlights was we started a memorial garden for Penny. Because she was at home so often, we wanted her to enjoy her home. So a few of our staff, along with the guy that did landscaping for us, made an entire garden in the front yard. It was huge, expansive, and it had a lot of favorite items. And Penny could enjoy it either sitting outside in the shade, or she could enjoy it sitting inside the window, depending on the weather. And we filled the garden with as many memories of her and with her as we could.
One of the staff that works here and where I live in Armstrong asked Lisa and I and Tracy if we could help plant plants for Penny's Memorial Garden.
Hmm,
That's what we did.
that's really lovely. It's a
Yeah,
wonderful thing to do for her, and sounds like it made a big difference. Um,
it did make a difference
hmm.
for her. And how I started reading to Penny was Lisa, the manager at Milford, called me one day, and she asked me if I would be interested in reading to Penny. And I said, I'd be interested in reading the penny. So I used to go every Wednesday morning to read the penny. And she, I'd, I'd say, what book do you want me to read to you? And she used to say, the Disney book. So I read that book to her until she fell asleep. And then I would leave the room quietly, just let her speak.
Wow. That would have been a
Yeah,
real comfort to her, I'm sure. And we talk
it was.
we talk a lot about people sharing their gifts, and it sounds like you were able to share your gifts with her in a way that was really
Mhm.
really meaningful for her. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Um, so Sandra, in this video training that we're doing, we're talking about reframing hope at the end of life, and I think there's a lot in our society that says you always need to hope to get better, right? You always need to push to get back to the way that you were, and that's not always realistic. That's not an actual hope sometimes for people. But in this situation, we're talking about there's lots of hopes and dreams that kind of came alive for Penny at the end of her life. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind speaking to that a bit. What did reframing hope look like in this support of Penny?
Um, Reframing hope for us meant meeting Penny where she was. And because her world was physically small, how did we bring as much into that as possible? It meant finding ways using technology to connect with family members of hers that were in different provinces to make sure they had a chance to have conversations, to make sure her family member knew how well supported she was so that they could have peace and comfort about her last days. Um, and for Penny, I think really it meant hope for a time where she was free of this body that caused her pain, and hope for a time where her soul could be free. We knew that we brought her as much joy and as much comfort as we possibly could during her years that she lived in her home.
Yeah, and I think what's beautiful about that is that, from what I understand, she found hope in her faith. She found hope in looking forward to a time that she could be with Jesus in the Christian tradition. But she also found hope and meaning and joy in those final moments, right? So it's not this either
Mhm.
or; it's a both and of looking forward with
Yes.
hope, but also living into that hope in the present. And I know we often talk about celebration of life after people have passed away, and those can be really beautiful times, but you and Lorie and the support team there did a wonderful job of celebrating Penny's life through the end of her life as well. So thank you both for sharing the ways that you helped her, the ways that you celebrated her, the ways that you shared your gift through that. I think this is a great example of how to go about reframing hope at the end of life.